Hi, I'm District 4 Commissioner and Vice Chair Mark Alcarez. Welcome to District Dialogue. Recently I had an opportunity to host a town hall at Ephesus Baptist Church, where we had a great discussion with a fantastic panel of community leaders, which consisted of Georgia House Representative Kimberly New, Glenn Easterwood from Douglas County School Board, and also Director Rana from our DOT. It was a wonderful opportunity to connect with the community and share important updates. So I hope you enjoy this recap of the town hall. Take a look. We're going to start off this morning. I'm going to start with our State House Representative Kimberly New to give you some updates in regards to crossover just ended at the Capitol. And I know she's been having fun down there for the last couple of weeks. As you probably all have seen inside the news, it looks like it's been a good and exciting time. So I'm going to let her come first. And how we're going to do it, she's going to come up here. She's just going to talk a little bit. Feel free to ask any questions. The sheriff should be here in just a moment. And then we're just going to go through. We have some updates for District 4, some exciting things we have coming. And also, all of you who are from around this area, you can see everything that's going on Post Road. And but we got some exciting things to inform you about. So no further ado, I'm going to ask my friend, Miss Kimberly New, to come on up.
Good morning. I got you fresh and new this morning, so that's good. My name's Kimberly New. I am your State House Representative, District 40. I represent Douglas County and Paulding County. I am a 7th generation Douglas County resident. My grandkids are 9th generation Douglas County residents. I'm a wife, mom, grandma, and small business owner here in Douglas County. I currently serve in the House of State Representatives. My committees are Vice Chairman of Public Safety and Homeland Security. I'm on Appropriations, Natural Resources and Environment, and Intra-Governmental Coordination. I'd like to tell you a little bit about how the process works first before I get into the almost 200 bills we hit up this week. Hope y'all are in for a minute. Y'all good? Y'all ready? I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that to y'all today. But I am going to tell you about the process. He put his hand up. He's like, sir? We're thinking dinner. No, I'm just kidding. So what happens? So I'm at the State House in Atlanta, and you have an idea for a bill. You bring it to us, and you're like, hey, what about this? Or we come up with an idea for a bill, and we're like, this is a fantastic idea. We need to set this in motion. So we take this bill to Legislative Council. Legislative Council finds it in the code, finds out, first of all, if it's constitutional and where it would go in the code, and see if anybody has done it before you, may already be in the code, and then they make it legal for you. So they get it back to you, you look at it, you think, this is fantastic, and then you start talking to people in the House, you get them to sign your bill. You can be the only signer for the bill, but it is better because it shows that you have more support for your bill the more people you have signed. The majority of the time, most bills have 5 signatures. Then you put it in the hopper, which is the clerk of the House, and then it is read on the floor 3 days. It is put into committee. Once it's into committee, you request for it to be heard, and so the chairman will go ahead and set a date. It's usually in a subcommittee. So you take this wonderful, wonderful bill that you love. It's the best thing for Georgia. And then you go to subcommittee where you work out all the kinks. So, because there's always someone in the room that's like, what about this? What about this? And they're great ideas too. So you want to make sure that it's right for everybody and make sure that this bill is as good as it can be and perfect for the next step. Then, because it's an amazing bill, it gets out of subcommittee, it goes to committee. The same thing happens. They talk it through, make sure it reads the way it needs to read. If there's any amendments, substitutions, it gets done there. Then, because it's such an amazing bill, they pass it. Then you go to rules. You also go to rules, you request to be heard there. Again, you bring it up. Anyone has an issue, they can throw it back to committee, or it can be passed through. Once it gets to rules, then it sits, because they're the ones who make the calendar for our floor. And so you sit there, and you've got this amazing bill, and you wait, and you wait, and hopefully by 2 or 3 days later, you're called for the next day because they set the calendar for the next day every day. And then you go to the floor. You go present your bill on the House floor, and because it's an amazing bill, everybody votes yes. That's amazing. Now it goes to the Senate and starts the process all over. Once it gets to the Senate, because it's an amazing bill and they have approved it, the 3 things can happen. The governor can sign it, the governor doesn't have to sign it, or he can veto it. If he signs it, it goes into law July 1st per our Constitution. If he doesn't sign it, it also goes into law on July 1st per our Constitution. If he vetoes it, it wasn't so great. So that is the way the process goes. And that way you'll understand we're not there all year. We only work 40 legislative days. We start the second Monday in January, and then they will set a calendar for us. This year it is April 4th, so we have 12 more legislative days left. We just had crossover. That means crossover is the day where the House bills have to cross over, have to be passed on the floor to go to the Senate. Otherwise, they're kind of in limbo because we work on a 2-year system. So I serve for 2 years, my bills are introduced, they can stay in limbo for 2 years. If it doesn't go through this year, then it's not dead. I'll just have to pick it up next January. And so that's how the process works. But we did have crossover, so now there are exceptions to that. So you can't introduce any more new legislation on the House side to cross over to go to the Senate until next year. But there are the exceptions. Those are if a Senate bill comes over to the House and it falls under the same code as your bill did, that's still sitting in rules because it's an amazing bill, you can add it to that bill. Now, that being said, it's got to go through subcommittee, committee, floor, then it goes back to Senate where it does it again. And again, they may not like your bill and they can strip it back out, but you can add it to it. So that is the exception. We call those Christmas tree bills, and you may have heard that before, and it's where you attach other bills to a bill. It happened a couple of years ago where a soapbox derby bill became a sports betting bill. And the author was so angry she stripped all of her wording out of it because it was just to make Vidalia the soapbox derby capital of Georgia. Yeah, so it does happen, and it's very interesting when it does. And that's usually after crossover. And we don't normally hear Senate bills until after crossover because we have all of these amazing representatives, and we want their bills to be heard first. And now we'll start hearing Senate bills where they have crossed over into our side. So far this year, and forgive me, I'm going to let you know if you ask one of us about a bill, a specific bill, I wanted to make sure that I had these numbers for you because it is important. This year so far, Legislative Council has written over 3,570 bills. They have written almost 1,000 resolutions. So when you say, hey, how's Bill 567? I'm like, let me look that up really quick because we've heard a lot of bills. Some bills make it through committee, some bills don't. Some have been heard, some are not. On the committees that I serve, I hear them. Some pass, some don't. And by crossover, because we've heard close to 200 bills this week on the floor. We passed a record-breaking 76 bills on Thursday. So we left the Capitol right before 11 o'clock p.m., not a.m., on Thursday. So that's when you ask us a specific question, it may take us a minute to look it up, but that is why, because over 3,500 have been written, and you hear about bills, we talk about bills, and then we have to find out where it is and what stage it's at. And so I'm going to show you guys a wonderful tool for you on the Georgia General Assembly website. You can pull that up. You can Google that. Pull up. It's Legis. It's LEGIS, or I believe it is, .gov. And pull that up. And if you want to look at your representative, you can look and see what committees they're on, what legislation they've sponsored. You can look up that legislation. You can pull it up by the legislation. You can pull up meetings, so if you want to watch something, you can watch it online while it's happening. You can pull it up if it's already happened, and you can see how we voted. So it is a great tool. It is what we all use because we're like, wait a minute, let me look. And that's what we pull up to see where it's at and how it voted. And if we ever have a question on who voted, we can look that up as well. So that is kind of the process. I hope that y'all will look that up. It's Georgia General Assembly, and it's our website. And it is the best tool that I could ever offer anybody because, like I said, you can see anything and everything that you want to know can be usually answered on that website. So Thursday was an exciting day. Like I said, we passed a record 76 bills. These bills are all important because they cover the range of topics from tax relief to changing in professional licensing, girls' sports, and the budget, which all aim to help Georgians. Our tax relief for families, one of the main focuses of our work was providing tax relief. We passed 2 key measures to help families save money this year. The first measure was House Bill 111. Yes, I can remember that one, which lowered the state income tax from 5.39 to 5.19. And so this change comes 2 years earlier than what Governor Kemp had initially proposed, which is great news to us. The second measure is House Bill 112, which puts $1 billion back in the pockets of hardworking Georgians. Through a special one-time tax rebate, depending on your situation, you could receive a different amount, either $250 for individual or married couples filing separately, $375 for heads of household, and $500 for married couples filing jointly. I truly believe that nobody knows how to spend their money more than the people that earned it. That's why I'm proud to support these tax relief measures. Changes to professional licensing. I can't tell you how many calls, how many emails I receive on professional licensing. It is a problem. It's been a problem. So we've put some measures in place, and now it's the Senate side to make sure that it gets done. But we made progress in professional licensing reform. We had a committee who worked diligently over the past few months to hear from people all over Georgia about the challenges they're facing when trying to obtain or renew their license for their professional licenses. So we passed House Bill 579, which simplifies the licensing process and cuts unnecessary regulations. So this will help qualified Georgians to get to work faster. We passed the amended 2025 budget, so that is our main job as the House and Senate for the state is to do the budget for Georgia. It passed on Thursday, signed by the governor for 2025, and I have a meeting first thing Monday morning for the 2026 budget, so we have appropriations there. So looking ahead, with only 12 legislative days left before the final deadline on April 4th, I'm committed to working hard to pass more common sense legislation for my community, for my citizens, and for Georgia. This is the best place to raise family, to praise, work, play, is right here in Douglas County. So as your representative, I am honored to represent you, and if you have any questions, problems, possibilities, my cards are in the back, and I thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. Once session is over, we'll have another town hall meeting, and then do bring a snack because we'll get the meat of the bills that made it to the governor, and we'll talk about them then and let you know what made it across the finish line and what we'll be holding over until next year. Are there any questions? All right, y'all are easy on me today. Thank you so much, and like I said, my cards are in the back, and I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for coming this morning, and y'all have a great day.
You are entirely too easy on her. Next, I'm going to bring up from our Douglas County School Board, Glenn Easterwood. He represents the south side of Douglas County, the Fairplay area, all the way up to Alexander. I'm not going to try to name all of his schools that he covers because I do not know how they all shift. I just know that I work with Mr. Easterwood and also with Ms. Simmons on the other side of my district. So I'm going to bring him up for some updates in regards to the school board.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Glenn Easterwood. Like you said, I'm the District 5. We're pretty much the same area, Mark and I, but on the Board of Commissioners it's considered District 4. School Board is considered District 5. But it's pretty much the same areas. But I have 10 schools in my district, but if you know, I cover probably 35 schools. If you're in my county, you're in my district. That's how I look at it. And I work with schools all across the county. Our basic job, which I think a lot of times there's a misunderstanding, our job, what we're supposed to do, we're supposed to be over budgets and policies. So if it has to do with a budget or a policy, that's a decision that the school board will make. The other things are what we call daily norms, protocols. That's something that the superintendent will handle or his department heads over each department. We have 26,000 students in Douglas County. I don't know if people realize that. It's a lot of kids every day, 26,000 kids. That's a bunch of minor emergencies happen every single day. 35 different schools every morning. So, you got to think that's a lot of things happen. So if you hear a few bad things, that's not bad. That's good. With that many kids and that many things going on. We run a $332 million budget this year. Of that budget, right at 85% goes to our students and our teachers' salaries and student-based learning. That's we consider that a healthy portion. There are counties that have up around 89 and 90%. Some have 91 and 92%. But if you look at that, and in every one of those, they have furloughs, they have layoffs, they have a lot of problems that we don't have. We think that's a good number to stay at, that 85, 86. Now, we always want to give, I know it's a question people ask, and can we ever pay teachers enough? I'll tell you no. We'll never be able to pay teachers what they deserve, ever. If we paid them $150,000 a year starting out, that's not enough for especially nowadays, what teachers have to deal with. It's just different. I don't think you can pay them enough. But over the last 7 years, the last 5 years since I've been on the board, I'm starting my second term. In the last 3 years, they've had raises of $10,500. In the last 7 years, it's almost 47% pay raise. But if the perception is, if you hear out there, we don't pay our teachers enough and we're not giving them raises, we're giving them raises every possible time we can. That is one of our main goals to do. And another misconception that you hear is when you'll say, well, the governor said he's giving $2,000 a year to all the teachers. He does do that, and that's wonderful. And you'll hear we match it. So when we match it, then the next year that increases our budget. So we have to be very cautious with that. I don't want to say cautious like we don't want to do it. We just have to be very mindful of that, because not only do we match that, we have to match 401k, we have to match teachers' retirement. All those are big numbers that add up very quickly when you have 3,500 employees. So that's something please think about, when you hear people say, oh, they don't pay their teachers anything. We're very competitive now, and we're going to keep being competitive. We would love to pay as much as Cobb County. But unfortunately, a lot of our veteran teachers, when they get about year 27, they've got 3 years left, they leave. And we get a lot of negative press about it. Well, they leave because they can go to Cobb County and make $4,000 or $5,000, $7,000 more, and that shows on their retirement. And they retire at a higher rate, and they make more money. They're making a business decision. Has nothing to do with how they've been treated. Has nothing to do with that they don't love our county. They do. They're just making a business decision. And we have teachers that are going to stay here till the day they die, because it's their ministry, it's their calling. They love our county, they love our kids, and we're very, very thankful for them. And I'm not mad at the ones that leave. I understand they're making a business decision. But please understand, it's not because we run them off or they didn't really want to be here. And along that same lines, because I always want to say these things, and sometimes you can't, sometimes you don't need to, but most of the time I still do. We have teachers that you hear, they'll fuss and they'll say, oh, we can't stand the system. Well, they probably got fired. I'm just going to be honest with you. They probably got fired, or their contract didn't get renewed. And they tell us, don't say that. Superintendent tells me, Glenn, please don't say that. And I understand why, and I say, well, I get it, but it needs to be said. Everybody here works in a job, Is everybody at your job do as much as you do? Is there great people all through your company, or do you have some people that just want to get by? Every profession has that. I'm thankful in Douglas County that we have, most of our teachers are phenomenal. It is their ministry, it is their calling. We love them. But we do have people that are sour, and they got the job, I think, because they wanted 3 months off in the summertime. You know? They thought it would be easy, and then they may got into it, you know, and they said, Glenn, you probably shouldn't say that. I just want to be honest with you. You know, if anything, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to tell you. We got some that don't do as great as others, and we do not renew their contracts. And when we don't renew their contracts, they say bad things about us. Now, I'll get off that, but I just want to tell everybody that. That's just the truth. But now, with that being said, we have some teachers that win national awards. They are phenomenal. We have schools. We just had 4 schools named AP Honor Schools of the Year for the state of Georgia and nationwide. If you look at our top students, I'll put them against anybody anywhere in the country. You know, they do phenomenal. We'll have some of these companies come in and they do these surveys, and you'll say, okay, well, it said Douglas County had underachieving or underperforming schools. Well, I can explain that metric to you, and I can tell you how they run that. It's not fair to the school systems. You can have a school that's measuring, just to make it simple, on a scale of 1 to 10, we could have a school that's measuring at a 9.1, and they're phenomenal. They're a comprehensive high school. They're an AP honor school. Well, next year, they do it on 3-year increments. Well, the next year, if they only go to 9.15, they'll say they're an underperforming school because they didn't get the increase that they should. Because you'll notice, if you pay attention on social media, we'll have one that's underperforming. Well, next week it wins an AP Honor School of the Year for the country. Well, how does that happen? How is that possible? I can tell you how it's possible, because you have organizations that their job is to come in and rate these schools in this unfair metric, and then if they can deem them underperformers, then they get to go to the governor's office or go to the state and say, we need money because we're going to take over and we're going to do surveys and figure out how to straighten these schools out. And we need to hire more staff and get a bigger budget and hire more of our friends. But even though they don't care what it does to the school, they don't care what it does to the community, they don't care what it does to the kids that are there that feel like, okay, now I'm in an underperforming school. No, you're not in an underperforming school. But there are people that are motivated by money and other things, you know, for this. Our county, we have an extremely diverse county. We have over, well, I'll ask y'all this. How many languages do you think are spoken in our school? I like to do this because I think it's 10 or under. How many people think it's 10 or under? How many people think it's 20 or under? How many people think it's 30 or under? How many people think it's 40 or over? We have 44 different languages spoken in our schools. We have over 70 interpreters. See, so I didn't think that was the case either when I got on the board. But I'll tell you, one of the best things you can do is, if every year I go to, you'll notice I'm at every graduation. We don't have to go to every, I go to every one of them because it is my favorite day of the year. It's better than Christmas. I get to sit up there and see all these beautiful kids walk across those stages, and Mark and I have both coached many of them. They're brothers. Now we're seeing, most of ours have left, but now we're seeing their younger brothers. But when I came on the board, we got to see a whole group of our kids that we were with our whole lives graduate. And you see kids that I remember 25, 30 years ago, their dads came here and they had a pickup truck, 2 shovels and a rake, and they started a landscape company. And now they're doing phenomenal. Now their kids are graduating. They're going to Georgia Tech. They're going to Ivy League schools. They're going to all these places. And I get to see that. And that's a big deal. And that's what's important. That's the humanity of what we do. And you don't see that on social media. You don't see that on Women of Douglasville. You won't see that on the uncensored groups. They don't talk about that. When our AP honor schools got posted out there, it wasn't shared on any group, not once. So I just shared it with everybody, putting it out there. I just don't know why we don't share the positive stuff. But with that being said, 44 different languages. Now, we have a lot of kids. Our graduation rate, now is right at 90%. So we're graduating 9 out of 10 kids. So that's a big deal, 9 out of 100. That's very hard to do this day and time, especially we have some of our schools, the way they're based, we have different demographics where when they get to be 15, 16 years old, even though they're A and B students, some of them A students, they're leaving to go work with mom and dad. That's just what they do. Well, our school system takes a hit on that. It looks like we didn't graduate that child, even though that child was excelling and doing very, very well. But they leave, and we get a hit on that. But we're graduating 90%. The last administration, I won't name any names, but when the last two superintendents kept the graduation rate in the 60s to high 60s. So we went from 67% 13 years ago, to 90%. Now our ultimate goal is not just to graduate them. We want successful young adults. If they leave in 11th grade, but they're successful, they're good fathers, they're good mothers, they're good people, that's our goal. And they're educated. But we would love to graduate them. That is a metric that holds value. And I'll be here if anybody thinks of anything. I'll be here when we're over. Feel free to come ask me anything you want.
Y'all were rougher on him than y'all were on Miss New. But that's okay. That's what we're here for. Next, I'm going to bring up our director, Rana. He's over our Douglas County DOT. I'm not going to brag on him too much, but phenomenal young man, very smart. Loved also that he's a Georgia Tech grad. You know, as a Georgia Tech fan, I'm glad that we got one from there. But he's been with us for a while now, and he's doing a great job. I'm going to bring him up, let him talk about some of the things that's going on and some future projects for District 4, but also in the county, so that if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. Director Rana.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and I wanted to thank Commissioner Alcarez for having me here for this event. As you mentioned, I am the director of our transportation department. Our mission statement is to provide for the necessary infrastructure to support the mobility needs of our residents and our visitors here in Douglas County. To give you some perspective about the volumes that we get to work with, our comprehensive transportation plan says that there's at least 100,000 commuters that depend on our infrastructure to commute in and out of our county on a daily basis. On a separate angle, our sheriff's department picks up unique IDs of vehicles coming in and out of our county. And looking at the data for the past month, they read 15 million unique IDs over a month. What that means is you may have 100,000 daily commuters, but you have 5 times of that in terms of traffic that's coming in and out of your county, being the gateway community to the metro region. So that's the kind of volumes we get to work with. And to support this need, we have about $800 million worth of infrastructure in place. That covers 720 miles of roadway, 93 bridges, various traffic signals, signs, and striping that is needed to ensure smooth and safe movement of our riders. Now, we have certainly not been immune to the rapid growth of Metro Atlanta region. With growth comes burden on our infrastructure. We certainly observe rising levels of congestion, safety issues across the county. And to manage or mitigate those issues, we are actively working on programming projects, addressing local needs, working with our regional, state, and federal partners to secure the much-needed funding that is required to deliver these mega transportation projects across the county. I'm happy to report that our backlog of projects, it's stronger than ever. Currently, as we speak, we have over $200 million worth of active projects going across the county. So to summarize it, great things are happening in Douglas County under the dynamic leadership we have in place, and great things are happening in District 4. You might have noticed some of the projects that were completed last year, from Stewart Mill at Reynolds intersection to the Highway 5 turn lane, which was one of our legacy projects, much awaited, but finally done and open to public. And then we have some active projects that are underway as we speak. Many of you might have taken the Post Road interchange today coming here. That is currently under phase 3 of construction. About 3 years ago, the board decided to revitalize the entire interchange. We looked at the issues. There were existing maintenance issues. There was a need of a new signal. There were needs of adding turn lanes to the interchange of all approaches. And we decided to provide immediate relief and work towards a total solution. So we split the project in 3 phases. We were able to do maintenance in phase 1, year 1. Then we added a a signal for eastbound approach in year 2, and we're currently in year 3 with turn lanes under construction as we speak. We hope to achieve great results with these improvements. This is certainly a significant investment of SPLOST dollars into our county's infrastructure, and this will provide great relief in terms of congestion and safety improvements of the interchange. We won't just stop there, but we are also keeping an eye on Liberty Road interchange. We understand the need for signalizing the eastbound approach, which is currently unsignalized, and very soon that too will see a signal facilitating the turning, heavy turning, and through movement that approach sees on a daily basis. Liberty Road, while it falls under city jurisdiction, it's state-owned right-of-way. County is doing our part to facilitate those conversations, to provide additional improvements, for example, turn lanes. As you all understand, resources are limited. We would love to do everything, but unfortunately, we have to rely on the agencies that have the ownership of those right-of-way to make some of the improvements. As county, certainly we have data, we understand the issues, we receive complaints, we hear from you, and we advocate for you on your behalf. Other than these few projects, I would like to give a big picture that every interchange that adjoins county right-of-way or county road has received some sort of improvements or will receive some sort of improvements in the years to come. From Lee Road, that got significant improvements. We're currently designing improvements for Chapel Hill interchange. Post Road and Liberty is something I mentioned. We're also working with GDOT on various projects along Thornton Road and Fairburn. So all of the interchanges, all of the major thoroughfares in the county are actively being looked at, and we're being creative with how we fund and deliver these much-needed improvements across the county. Then there are many exciting localized projects, from intersection improvements that are needed in Douglas County, but also in District 4. Last time I was here, we were talking about T-Splost, and I heard a lot of comments about Highway 5 at Pool Road Roundabout, which has been in works for quite some time. It is a GDOT-owned project. They have the jurisdiction, given the right-of-way, funding, and the delivery of the project. But given the concerns the community has had, we are actively coordinating and monitoring the progress. That project is currently slated for construction, begin construction by February of 26. We're almost there. We're closer than we ever were. Currently in right-of-way acquisition, 4 of the 16 parcels have been acquired, and negotiations are ongoing on the remaining 12. Once that roundabout is done, we certainly currently see the need of improvements of Highway 5 at Mason Creek intersection, but with that roundabout done, there will be an increased load coming towards this intersection. So we recently kicked off those improvements also. We're currently in design, and we're in early stages of data collection and designing, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I do think a roundabout there would greatly improve the efficiency of that intersection. Very close to that intersection is a roadway facilitating Alexander High School, Alexander Parkway off of 585. Part of this project will also include a turning lane for that movement, and it will greatly reduce the backlog we see for through movements on Highway 5, especially during school hours. To summarize, I think there's continuous efforts to improve high traffic, congested, and safety concerning intersections across the county. And while resources are limited, there's only so much projects we do. But the two things that we look at when prioritizing projects is 1, congestion, 2, safety. And we've done some great work in the county. We are continuing to do some great work, and we will continue to program projects and secure funding for projects that achieve these purposes in the long run. In terms of advocacy and coordinating with our regional and state partners, we have, over the past few years, we've been actively meeting with leadership of different agencies, inviting them over for very productive discussions. And more recently, we discussed with GDOT's commissioner about the need for resurfacing of Highway 5, I-20, and few other roads. But recently, we've seen results of resurfacing efforts on Highway 5 with few sections of that completed over the past 2 years, and the last section, which is from Central Church to US 78, currently slated for resurfacing this year, and we're hoping that starts within a month or 2. We will also be seeing resurfacing of I-20 between Liberty Road and Highway 5, again slated for summer of this year. Very happy for those improvements, much needed. We also have a once-in-a-lifetime largest investment coming towards the western region, which is the improvement of I-20 and 285 interchange. It does not directly fall in our county limits, but it certainly impacts many of us that are here or live here in Douglas County. That is part of their massive MMIP program, which is a once-in-a-lifetime investment in larger interchanges and highway improvement projects. And we're glad that Douglas County and Western Region got a piece of that significant improvement. In terms of competitive funding, we remain proactive in submitting applications and securing any grants that we can, whether it be for projects or planning efforts. Over the past year, we secured two significant planning grants, one for safety, which is Safe Streets for All. This is a federal initiative that provides funding to establish a Vision Zero for the county. This is where we identify safety-oriented projects, and once the plan is approved by the board, it would set a vision of zero fatalities in Douglas County. Our second grant was for freight management in Douglas County. We certainly see the growth of industrial developments in the county, and with that comes heavy traffic. We have been trying to mitigate this issue, but what it needs is a comprehensive look of what are the issues, who are the stakeholders, how we can actively collaborate to mitigate the concerns that we see on a daily basis on our roads. That includes trucks in no truck zones, parking on sides of roads, many safety issues that we've seen. We're doing our best to manage those, but we think there's room to do better, and I think that is what this plan will help us do. With that, I think that's a good summary of what's going on. There's certainly many other projects going on across the county, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. But the summary is, I think, with the limited resources that are available, we are doing our best to manage the maintenance and growth projects that are needed across the county. In terms of maintenance, we have in-house crew that does great work. The morale is high, and oftentimes, workload seems to be a little higher than what they can manage, but there hasn't been a day when any one of our guys have backed down from a challenge. So while not everything may not be perfect, I want you all to know that everybody works hard every day to make your lives better.
Looking to see, we did have a city council member here earlier, but I guess Mr. Esty is, there he is. So those who had the questions about the city, he's standing right back there. Y'all might catch him before he leaves, but I appreciate him being here. I also want to take a moment to recognize Madam Chair, Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones back here, and previous District 4 Commissioner Ann Jones Skyder. I see her in the back there. But real quick, and I know he's probably gonna be upset with me about this, but our fire chief walked in back there, and there's just a couple of updates. I'll see if I can get him to slide up here and just give you a couple of updates about some new trucks and all that we purchased for the county. Yes, he's gonna love me for this. But since you can blame this on the sheriff, since the sheriff hasn't got here yet. And then I'll conclude with some updates and some things about District 4.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? For those that don't know me, my name is Miles Allen. I am your Douglas County Fire Chief. Just to give you guys a bit of update on what we have going on right now. We just got approved for a couple new ambulances coming into the county. We just got approved for a couple new fire engines. I am a 24-year District 4 resident, so I've been in District 4 that long, so I know pretty much the good, the bad, and the ugly about what's going on, not just in our district, but in our county. In June, hopefully in May, we'll have our new fire station, fire station number 9, which will be on Douglas Hill and Thornton Road. Douglas Hill and Thornton Road. And that's going to be one of the newer fire stations. So currently, right now, we are staffed at 206 plus, but we still have a bunch of openings still going on. We have what's called a SAFER program, so we're bringing in new people. We're training them up in fire, and we're training them up in EMS as EMTs, and so we're trying to stay competitive with the other departments in the metro. Everybody's fighting. Everybody's fighting for staffing, but we're comfortable. We could be a lot better. We can be a lot better, so we're still working on that. So just to give everybody an idea of what we're dealing with, we have upwards of 7,000 fire hydrants in the county. So the fire department is pretty much responsible for clearing the vegetation and greasing the hydrants. Now, there's a collaboration that I have to do with WSA as far as making sure that the hydrants are visible and that there's markers in place so we can locate the hydrant. But as a point of contention here, we get good information from the information that we give to our dispatchers. They let us know where the hydrants are when we respond. So there's a lot of familiarization that we have to do when we go out, when we do area familiarization, when we do pre-fire plans, things of that nature. So we have to mark these hydrants down to locate them. But that's one of the things that I'm working on also, is to make sure that these hydrants are visible, not only in the daytime but at night, because you can have a hydrant that could be 5 feet from the road, or a hydrant upwards of 15 feet from the road, and trying to locate these things, as you say, sir, is difficult at night. So we are in collaboration with WSA trying to figure that out. One of the biggest things that we're doing is mobile integrated health, and I have Ms. Tara Nichols from the Nichols Center here, who is working with us on that. And so I don't chop it up and make it worse. Terry, if you don't mind coming in, just give us a couple seconds of your time and describe what the Mobile Integrated Health Program is.
Well, good morning. I did not expect to get to share this with you guys today. My name is Tara Nichols. I'm a licensed mental health clinician here in Douglas County. And for the last 11 years, my family and I, we have served Douglas County. Actually, my very first speaking engagement was here at Ephesus Church. Miss Ann invited my mother-in-law and I to come here and share, and so actually it's kind of exciting to be here. So Mobile Integrated Health is a program that our chief and the fire department has collaborated with public safety to bring online for our community. We have a lot of community members and citizens in Douglas County that are facing a lot of critical issues in their life through accessing care. Either they don't have the resources to be able to age in place or access medical needs, or even sometimes non-emergency needs, and they're relying on 911 and our emergency department to be able to access those resources. And so we're building a program. It's going to be probably about 2 years to stand this program up and to see it in its full capacity, and it is to empower our first responders and clinicians and community members to provide wraparound services for these individuals. And those are going to be individuals both in those vulnerable different places in their life. That might be the elderly, that might be the pediatric, families with pediatric needs, mental health needs, behavioral health, and so forth. And that's why me as a clinician and my experience in working in the community has been asked to step and be a part of this process. It's been a wonderful collaboration. We're really in the early stages of collecting data, really looking at how the fire department responds and how can we challenge basically the process of responding for incidents and increase the capacity for our first responders to do what we call longitudinal care. When the first response unit goes out, it's very much incident focused, right? They're only going to be dealing with that patient in that moment of emergency. But when you have non-emergency needs, that extends long beyond that process. So we're looking at how can we support them, how can we increase their ability to maintain that care over time. And that might be 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or even for chronic cases, long-term care, and how can we engage those families in different community services. So it's a wonderful project. I'm very excited about it. There's going to be a lot more information that's going to come out In the next phases of this project, they'll be available online, and I'm sure we'll be able to share more in the future. So,
Yeah, I know they both love me for that, but that mobile integrated health, that was something that we looked at. We actually had it was working through a third party for some time with our with the county and also with our fire department, and Chief and I got to talking and thought, well, why don't we just bring this in-house and have this work underneath the fire department? You know, it just makes sense. You know, they were already working with the fire department, so it just brought in that closer connection. And not only on top of that, it also saved us $300,000. So, you know, bringing that in and having a first response, she's now part of our immediate team in our fire department. So I was very proud to have spearheaded the support with my fellow commissioners to bring that program into the county. A few things that we have coming up for District 4, and I'm glad that we talked about the fire station. Chief and I have really been talking about that fire station for some time now, and it is the next fire station I believe that we need to build, because that Fair Play area, it's going to grow. You know, I know everybody in District 4 we love it rural, but certain areas where things are zoned, certain residential agriculture, R2, they can build by right. So they can come in and start building, and we have no say-so, or we can't stop them. So the next area the developers are looking at is we're running out of land in Douglas County, so they're looking at District 4. It's hard. I've battled off quite a few developers, quite a few things that people wanted to come and build on Post Road or off of Liberty Road or in Fair Play that don't even live around here. Some of these developers are from Texas and other states, but they just want to come and build. And my fear is our Fair Play area, as Mr. Easterwood spoke about earlier, our schools are getting close. I mean, at the capacity. I know that they're looking for land, and correct me if I'm wrong, for another high school in District 4. So my fear is all these developers and land starts being developed. I want to be ahead of the game. I don't want to be behind the 8 ball. And I know that the Board of Education is also looking at that. I don't want our fire station out there in Fair Play to not be able to hold or service the capacity of people or developments that are probably going to be coming. So we're keeping that public safety in mind for District 4. I know you guys have heard a lot about data centers, and yes, there was one that was approved where the old Waldrop Farms is, but that was a hard decision to make. There was a lot at that area of those people that lived around there. I grew up there, not even a couple of miles from there. And to see the Waldrop's farm close, it's kind of like one of those iconic things in Douglas County. But the Waldrops could not afford to farm no more. It's just inflation got up with them, and the cost of farming got so much to where they couldn't make a living like they need to off of it. And we have a company coming in who wanted to purchase that land. And some of the thought process that went into this was the first thing that we discussed with them and I talked about was, if you want to come and be a part of District 4 and you want to take up this land, which everybody loves and wants to keep rural, one thing that I'm not going to agree to are no incentives and no tax abatements. I said the citizens are paying enough as it is, and it's about time some of these larger companies coming into our county start paying a good amount to give our people a break. So they agreed to that 100%, and we're looking at that. By the time they get fully developed, they're going to be paying somewhere between $60 to $70 million to our county. Now, how big is that? Our budget's $130 million. So that's going to be a good break for our citizens. We got more data centers wanting to come to District 4. I've sat down and talked with, and I've said the exact same thing. There will be no incentives, there will be no more tax abatements. Whether those come to fruition, we'll see. Because I'm going to allow it or put it back on the citizens, because that's who I serve. That's who elected me. If they want it, fine. If they don't, we'll fight against it. But we need to look at benefits for our county as a whole. House Bill 581 as many of you know, not only the school board, but we also opted out. So did the city of Douglasville. A lot of people were wondering, why did we opt out? Well, a couple of things, and especially now, I'm glad. Inflation. House Bill 581 would have capped us at raising your property taxes at 2% if we needed to. We don't want to do that. But you got to understand, we got to build new fire stations. There's all kind of things we have to build in this county. And if inflation rose and we could not raise or keep up with inflation, well, now and we will see how this works out, but this is just my feeling, with the tariffs that are now coming in, the price of steel and everything is going to go up. There's a lot of steel that goes into a fire department. There's a lot of steel that goes into making those trucks. So things possibly could go up. But we thought as best for the county to be able to maintain our budget was to opt out. Well, how do we balance everything, give you a tax break? Well, there's still that option in regards to House Bill 581 that we could propose a floss, a property tax relief. It would be up to a 1% tax that would go back to tax relief for everybody, for all the property owners in Douglas County. That's something we're looking at. But that would have to be something that had to be placed on the ballot, and you would have to vote for. The same as, I get it all the time, and it was, what about our roads? Improving, resurfacing our roads. And Director Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's around $900,000 to $1 million to pave a road. Around $400,000, $450,000 to resurface. 1 mile. 1 mile. And that's inflation. So we all got roughly about 2.2 miles to resurface in each one of our districts this year. 2.2 miles don't go very long in District 4 at all. So all of you, I'm asking you to be patient for many of you who say, hey, can you pave this road? Can you pave that road? Can you resurface this road? We have a list of how we categorize each and all of our streets in regards to the worst to the best, and we're working our way up. I personally, and I know many people don't like their taxes rate, I don't either, but I was disappointed that T-SPLOST didn't pass. That would have been a game changer for Douglas County in regards to resurfacing and repaving our roads. That would have brought in millions and would help us. Right now, we are 25 years behind in our resurfacing and paving in Douglas County. So in other words, what does that say? I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I definitely will be retired and before I ever see us catching up with that. But that is something we can bring back up, and we're going to hope to try and educate our citizens a little bit better in regards to why I think, and I can't advocate for it, but we can tell you the information as to what the T-SPLOST would do for Douglas County and District 4. We have I'm proud to say this, I mentioned last time, but it is now in the process. We have a senior center coming to District 4. It is going to be fantastic. We've been working on this for a long time. It's going to be right beside the Dog River Library. It is going to be the best senior center in the county. It's going to have all kinds of things that all the others have. It's going to have the pickleball court. It's going to have an indoor heated pool. You're going to have a walking trail back and forth between the Dog River Library and the senior center. So if you want to go up there and read a book, you can. And it's going to have the outside facade is going to be the same as what the Dog River Library looks like. It's going to have that country, rustic type look. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be so nice. We even are going to have 2 bowling lanes in there for seniors. So you're going to have your own bowling alley. But it's also going to be a huge, what I'm going to call like a ballroom or a conference room, to where the county can meet, and many times we have to pay for the conference center if we need to do something at the conference center. This will be able to allow the Board of Commissioners and other events to be held there to where that is ours. And it's just going to be wonderful. It's going to be very beautiful. There's some poster boards back there that show the layout. Now, it doesn't show the front, but it shows you what the interior is going to look like. So take a moment when you before you leave and take a look at those poster boards. The proposed build time, well, we're hoping to break ground by this year. So the architect right now is in the design phase. As soon as that's completed and the county agrees to it, and because of inflation, price went up just a little bit. But if my fellow commissioners say yes, we're okay with this, and it's just a little bit in our budget, then we'll go ahead and we're going to begin. But we were planning on breaking ground this year. The Winston Ballpark update, we did find right before we broke ground, we found some utilities that were in areas that we did not expect. So we had to reconfigure the design or layout just a little bit. But we also plan to break ground on that very soon. That is being already done, and right now I believe we're in the bid process. So we should be breaking ground on that very, very soon. Some things in regards to public safety in our sheriff's office in District 4. I've been receiving a lot of calls in regards for a while there regarding tractor trailers going up and down Post Road where they're not supposed to. Multiple signs, but they were using that as a cut through. I got with the sheriff, and he got with the with the state department, and they started setting up. And as you can see, you don't see no more tractor trailers going up and down Post Road. I guess after a few of them got fined, they realized they had found another alternate route, and they have. They've now found Liberty Road. So we are on top of that. Yep. So we are very aware of where they're driving, where they're not supposed to, and we are working those out to make sure we maintain it, because all it's going to do is it's going to continue to damage our bridges in those districts. We've had some here recently in District 4, some elevated cases, which kind of caught me off guard in regards to dog attacks. We are on that. There's things we're going to have to look at because, what we don't want to do is have children like we had here recently. They were playing in the street, and dogs got out of the fence while the man was working in the yard, and they caught the slowest kid, and that slowest kid had to go to Children's. So and that was the second one, 2 in 48 hours. We had kids attacked by dogs. But also in District 4, I'm very aware we're trying to handle what some people don't understand. When you live in District 4 and you live rural, people are going to go out there and they're going to shoot their guns. But we have an excessive area where a particular area down Post that, the guy was running a shooting range with no business license, and it sounded like a war zone. And so Sheriff's Office was contacted, our code enforcement, I got with them, they stepped in, and they've talked with the gentleman. He had no business license, no anything, but he was charging people, allowed them to come shoot on his property. But however, what I'm trying to tell people to understand is, by right, as long as it's on their property and they have a safe shooting area and they're 500 feet away from a residential home, they're allowed to do so. So, that's just part of living in District 4 and some of the certain areas. But we are on top of that, and we're trying to address those issues. I want to tell you, I thank you for taking time to come out this morning. We'll be sticking around for a few moments. My cards are back there. If you need anything, feel free to always reach out to me. My door is always open. And I thank you, and I hope you have a good rest of your weekend.